Today we've got a classic strength and finisher. This 4-movement supersetted first part is then going to be followed by our 15-minute conditioning finisher from this month's challenge. I'm also going to expand on our pattern grooving today. So for the strength sets, I'm going to go over our movement archetype. And for those of you that don't have either pull-up bar or rings, this is how you can find alternative movements. And once you learn how to do this, possibilities are unlimited. Let's get started.
Please don't. Stranger, please don't.
All right. Let's start. Hands and knees, flexion, extension through the spine. Shifting weight left and right. Find those corners that are a little bit stiffer. Up and down. I'm going to sink down into a child's pose and just shift my weight left and right. Keep the butt right over top of the heels. Left, right, left, right. Pull yourself forwards into a loaded extension or loaded Cobra. I'm going to load my hips up to the one side, bias that one side. Load my hips up to the other side, bias that side, and then come back into that child's pose, shifting left and right. To a tabletop, one hand behind the head, rotations, elbow to the hand, up to the sky, elbow to the hand, up to the sky. 3, 2, keep the breathing going. 1, switching sides. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You lie on your back. Go into some lying rotations. We're going to lower or lengthen the lower leg. Top leg, knee is going to go down to the ground. I'm going to pull that down. My opposite hand from what I'm rotating. And as I get into these rotations, feel that torsion in through the spine. So keep that knee up nice and high. 90 degrees from the lower leg. Got 10 reps here. Really reach as far as you can. And I'm also rotating the shoulder. So as I reach with the hand, I'm rotating that shoulder. So thumb comes to the knee, and then thumb comes to the ground overhead. 2 and 1. Come out of this. Knees into the chest, get a little rock. And then on to the other side. So lower leg, straight, top leg, bent. Pin that down. I'm going to reach for 10. 9. Think about getting your leg and arm as long as possible. Reach as far as possible to help lengthen the spine. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay on your back here. Little rock. Then we're going to go into some bridges. Feet flat on the ground. Roll the shoulders underneath. Okay, hips are up nice and high. Okay, I want to march. So glute bridge march. Get the hips up. Line that pelvis. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And go into some windshield wipers. Hands behind you, heels out in front. Get the knees down onto the ground. Rotating. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 2, and 1. I'm going to flip up. Go into a half kneel here. Get my hands down onto the ground in line with the front toes. I want to draw some circles with that front knee. But I want to focus on keeping the big toe flat on the ground. So tripod foot flat on the ground. Switch directions, circles. 3, 2, 1. Now I'm going to thread the needle underneath the arm. I want to get palm up, reach, and then I'm going to rotate. And as I rotate, I want to push the knee out, keep the big toe on the ground, and I want to get that thumb as far back as possible, pushing my hand through the ground. Get that stretch to the hip flexors, and then repeat. 2 more here. Reach. Rotate. One more. Reach. Be purposeful with this. Tripod foot, drive the hand through the ground, reach as far as you can. Good. And pulse, back knee comes off of the ground. Pulse, I'm thinking about that front foot, my squat position with that front foot. 3, 2, 1. And go down dog and pedal out here. Down dog, pedal. And then alternate. Step forwards, knee down onto the ground. Okay, get my hands in line with that front foot. Tripod foot. 5 circles. That front hip. 2, 1. Switch directions. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I thread the needle. Reach underneath. And then up. Take your time with this. Rotate. A little different than just going through the motions on a rotation. I want to deliberately create all of this tension while maintain that tripod foot. Getting ready for squats. Reach back. Good. And back knee off the ground and pulse. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go into a down dog here. Pedal out. Separate those fingers. Okay, I want to go into a plank. Shoulder tap. Feet wider. Hands narrower. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I want to get my knees down onto the ground, but I want to try and keep as much weight into the front arms as possible. And then go tricep extensions. Start to load up the elbows. So I've got my feet off of the ground. And I'm loading up my front arms as much as possible. 4, 3, 2, 1. Then you get back into a beast. And I'm going to go under switch. Screw that shoulder into the socket. Crab. And then reach. Okay, it's important you can distinguish between those 3 different movements. I'm going to go back in the under switch, other side. Under switch, screw the shoulder in the socket. Press up through the hips. And reach. 1 more per side. Under switch, screw the shoulder in the socket. Let's get into crab, extension, and reach. Last one, crab, extension, and reach. Push-up position. 3 push-ups. 3, 2, and inchworm all the way up. Keep the chin tucked to the shoulder or to the chest. Hands on the top of the hips. Press hips forwards. Lean back. And then let's do some rotations through the thoracic spine. Draw the elbow back and rotate. Draw the elbow back. Rotate. Draw back and rotate. 3, 2, 1. Circles. And switch directions. And then across the body. 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's squat. 5, 4, 3, 2. Sink down the bottom. Pedal out in the squat. Alternating between left and right. Next part, if you can't keep the heels down on the ground, hold on to something to keep yourself up, or put your hand into the ground. Heels are down, flat. Rotate. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on up. Single leg hinge. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 2. Work on that balance. And 1. Switching sides. 10, 9, 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, we're going to roll this up here. We're going to move into our pattern grooving now. Go over the movements. These are all going to be for the strength portion of the workout, and I'll get into the finisher in a minute. Okay, but we are going to go through. So first part, it's going to be front squat. Now I'm going to use kettlebells. Most of you following this probably have kettlebells, but you can also use a barbell. Okay, front rack is important on this because that's what we want to help develop some more core strength. So I wouldn't substitute with a back squat, for instance. So 2 kettlebells, your first 2 movements, nice and light. Okay, and this is going to be supersetted with pull-ups. Now pull-ups can either be from rings, okay, or from a pull-up bar. And this is what we refer to as a vertical pull. Okay, a vertical pull. So in the event that you do not have rings or a pull-up bar, but you have access to lat pull down, okay, the lat pull down would be an alternative. Okay, lat pull down would be alternative. Now, in the instance where you don't have pull-up bar, rings, or lat pull down, first of all, what are you doing? Okay, fix your gym. Let's work on that. Second, then we can go to just a horizontal or bent over row with kettlebells. So we're going to warm up these 2 first. Okay, double kettlebell front rack squat. I'm just going to go into 5 reps, and then I'm going to go into a pull-up progression. So with the kettlebell, depending on how heavy, if I've only got a single kettlebell, I can go into a goblet, but I've got a bunch, so I'll go into the front rack right away here. I'm going to sink down, and I'm going to go into that little pedal out that we were just doing, unloaded, but I'm keeping my back straight. So it's important that I'm maintaining tension, loading everything up here, and then I'm going to stand up for 1 rep, get to the top here, and then finish my 4, 3, 2, and 1. Down to the ground. Okay, so for my pulling, I'm going to go from the bar here, depending on which piece of equipment you have, you can now use that one. So from the bar, I'm going to first work on just some hangs. So I want to get my grip down. Can't see the grip in the camera here, but I'm going to not have my thumbs around. Okay, not have my thumbs around the bar. And for specific movement instructions, go into each movement and wad up, and you'll see the video and then any pertinent information. Now these rotations, I'm just walking back and forth, lengthens the spine. And then the next part, I'm going to go scapular pull-ups. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I'm going to go what's referred to as a half scap. So I want to think about pulling the shoulder blades down and a slight bend in the elbows. And this is the next progression in the pull-up. So I want to pull, half, engage, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and then the next part, I'm going to go into a beat swing with the pull. Progress this a little bit more. So beat swing, half pull, beat swing, half pull, 3, 2, 1. And any of these progressions that you can't do, just stay at the lower progression. Now, if you're not able to do full pull-ups, this is where you can do elevated or negative pull-ups. And again, that is in the description for the movement itself. So when I get into more of these workouts, I am not going to go through the unlimited number of progressions for each movement. That'll be your responsibility depending on where you are in your current ability. So full pull-up, chest to bar, arms wider than shoulders. Just going to go 3, hang, make sure I stop. 2, hang, make sure I stop. 1, hang, and good. Okay, so that is my first superset. Second superset is going to be dips and double and single leg kettlebell Romanian deadlifts. So here's one. A lot of you won't have rings, which is completely fine. Although if you've heard any of my ring rants before, you know that I am very excited about these being a home gym tool because of the number of movements you can do. And this body weight, this vertical push, okay, this vertical, or I should say it's really like a decline press. It's really one of the only ways you can train your body in this plane is with rings. And the second one I'll demo with the kettlebells. So once I got my rings to the right height, okay, the progression here is going to be using kettlebells. So if you don't have rings, then you want to sit in between the kettlebells as if you have rings. And there's a couple ways that we can do this. What's important, and this is one of my least favorite exercises, is the bench dip, because you can't control your shoulder and you start to put all of this tension in the shoulder in a terrible, okay, and a very vulnerable position. So you need to be able to understand how to create tension. You don't need to get your butt down to the ground. And if you want to make this tougher, you can also go into a push-up from the kettlebells. But right now, it's actually a good warm-up because I'm not fully loading it up. I want to work on the top position, shoulders away from the ears. And if you want to go into kettlebell dips or kettlebell push-ups, that'll be your progression. For me on the ring, the warm-up is stay at the top, palms forwards, and then negative down, jump up, and repeat this. Negative, down, jump up, and then from here, it's going to go into 3 ring dips. Palms forward, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so decline, because even though it's vertical, think about the position. It's almost like you're doing a decline press. So when you press out and you finish at the top here, all of the movement work is done, and you've gone through almost like a decline bench press, which is why I've listed that as one of the alternatives. It's awkward. You can do kettlebells, but it's just so awkward to get kettlebells in that decline position. But if you've got a decline bench, that'll work. Then going into single leg Romanian deadlift. So it's 2 kettlebells. I deadlift them up. Notice my staggered stance. Side note, how I pick these up. Suitcase just puts the most amount of tension on your spine. So typically I like to sumo, but if it's light, then I can go into a staggered stance. Deadlift just keeps your back straight. Well, pro tip. Okay, get balanced here. Just go one leg to the other. Then I can go single leg. And with Romanians, it's not about going down to the ground. It's about finding tension, the back of your leg. So if you find that tension, so long as your back stays straight, got 5 reps on one side, 3, 2, that's all we're working for. Okay, how much weight you lift in a Romanian is not nearly as important as how well you move it. I mean, yes, that goes for every exercise, but especially movements with these subjective movement standards, right? What defines a rep. Okay, these are the accessory movements that help strengthen. Primary movements, 2 and 1. Good, and then when I'm down, I either stagger or sumo. Biggest mistake I see people do is that suitcase straight down into your back. So those are our 4 movements. If you don't have kettlebells, you can use a barbell. Most of you are gonna have kettlebells if you're on here. Okay, the rundown for the strength. So we've got 5 sets. It's going to be 6 to 10 reps on the front squat. Now, I always give a range because you've got jumps and bells. Typically the jump is 9 pounds or 4 kilos. So if I say 6 reps, right, but you're somewhere between 4 and 8, then you are going to stop at 6 and you are not going to get the training benefit. So it's important to understand that that range is find the heaviest bell that you can lift, the minimum range, or the lightest bell at the maximum range. So if you only have a few bells, which again, if you're here this far and you don't have enough bells to do a full strength workout, what are you doing? But invest in those. You're only going to get a single bell. Look, okay, side rant. No, I'm going way longer. Side rant. A single bell, maybe 2 bells, great. Got you through a pandemic. Fantastic. We're beyond that. Your fitness is going to go beyond that. That's what's called newbie gains. If you only have a few pieces of equipment, you started working out, you're like, oh, wow, I did such a good job. That's normal. Everyone who starts working out initially is going to see what are called newbie gains. You're going to get better, and you're going to plateau. Get some more equipment if you want to increase your fitness. Okay, carrying back on to the actual workout. What's important here? So that range, that 8 or that 6 to 10 range, we'll be doing 5 sets. So you go 6 to 10 reps, and then we are going to go into max chest to bar pull-ups. Use any of the alternative movements that are listed under the movement archetypes. After those, and it's 2.5 minutes. So I've listed, there's a link to a timer. You can set this up however you want, but the timer is what we used when we were outside. It's great. You can throw it on your TV, your phone, and it's very easy to set up. So 2.5 minutes, per superset. Whatever's left over is your recovery. After those 5 sets, you're gonna get 2.5 minutes to transition to the next superset, which is going to be our ring dip and our Romanian deadlift. And the ring dip is going to be max reps. This is what I do with body weight, because how you scale it based on your ability. We're not adding weight. And then you're gonna go 8 per side on the Romanians. Remember, Romanians are subjective movement. We don't have a range, okay, because you wanna make this more difficult. So Romanian, you can make more difficult by slowing it down, by creating a little bit more tension. And that being said, slowing it down, creating more tension on the squats is also another way to make it harder or easier. That is your rundown. I got to condense that for when I start having live ammunition here. But that's your rundown. This whole workout's going to take, if you forget my rants, should be under an hour. And that's going to be the target. And hope to get your feedback on this, because the goal is to try and improve these so it makes more sense to transition into Fuel Online. Let's get going. Your briefing for the StrongCon 15-2 specifically, but this can apply really to a lot of these StrongCon 15s. When you look at the workout, you need to see the exercise that you think you're going to be spending the most time on. And you might not know that initially, but that's what you're thinking about. What is going to be your limiting movement? That's the one you want to start with, because in these types of workouts, the goal here is to go as quickly between movements. If you need to rest, it's better to transition to the next movement, because that next movement is going to give you rest from the previous movement. If you're stopping, getting water, you're out of the game. So if you go from one movement, you tire out, go to the next one. But what you don't want to get left with is the longest movement at the end where you have to rest. So for today, I did the bicep curl overhead press first in StrongCon 2, because that one took the longest. And if I can start that and then chip it throughout the full workout, then I'm not left resting. I might transition, but I'm not left resting. The fastest person is going to be the one, not necessarily who gets through all these movements, well, gets through it as quickly as possible as the fastest one, but the goal here is to not rest, to do quick transitions, and that's going to be your secret. So on this transition, I go right from the bicep curl to overhead press, to the sit-up, to the bike, back to the bicep curl overhead press, and I just keep chipping away at everything until it's done. Have fun. See you on the leaderboard.